Welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna, a place where real stories meet real hope. I'm your host, Johanna Vendel, a published author, speaker, and the CEO and founder of the prestigious International Hope Book Awards. On this podcast, we share powerful stories of faith, resilience, and transformation, conversations with authors, survivors, and changemakers who turned life's hardest moments into purpose. If you're searching for encouragement, healing, or a reminder that your story still matters, then you're in the right place. Press that subscribe button now and don't miss a story. So now, let's welcome your host, Johanna Vendel.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna. Today, I have another author in studio, Liz Huertes, and she will tell us all about her books and her story. But before we introduce her, I would like to tell you about my new clothing range that I have just launched for the prestigious International Hope Book Awards and also for Give Me Hope with Johanna. I am so proud to release this clothing brand out into the market and for Give Me Hope with Johanna name to be noticed by other people so that when they see that shirt or the hoodie or the tank top that you are wearing, they see Give Me Hope first. And sometimes that is all they need to see is Give Me Hope, because it will spark something in them to give them hope for the day, and you never know who might need those words. Well, I'm not going to talk too much about that. The links will be below in the description if you would like to purchase any of my t-shirts. Let's introduce Elizabeth. How are you, Elizabeth? Welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna.
Hi, I'm doing great, thank you.
Good.
It's awesome to hear that you have a new clothing line. That's beautiful.
Yes, no, I am very excited about my clothing range, and as the viewers could see earlier, it really looks amazing. So I'm very excited for people to start purchasing that and wear my brand name, because yeah, like I said, we all just need that little bit of hope sometimes.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for complimenting me on that. It's really, I really appreciate it. Liz, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers? But first, just tell them, who is Liz?
Well, this is a mom of three. I live in Mission, Texas, and
Oh,
I
nice.
am a Sunday school teacher. I love to go out into the community and go into the elementaries to give hope and inspiration to children, to write and to draw, because we all need illustrators as whenever
Mm-hmm.
we're creating children's books. So I just love to go out and also have events in our community that give women hope. We do women's ministry, and whenever I can, I volunteer in different places also, just to go out and show what I've started to do in order to inspire others if they're going through a hard, difficult time. So I'll explain with my books.
Yes, yes, it's always the best, to explain with your books because that is what your story is about. That's how your life started. So please go ahead and explain.
Okay, so basically, I wrote Into His Loving Hands. Um, back in 2022, I was going through a very difficult time in my life. And yes, I had a couple of health scares. Just
Wow.
had a lot of changes in my life. I went through a divorce, very complicated divorce, and I had to make some very difficult decisions. And so, what I ended up doing is I started to journal. Yes.
It's best medicine when you start to journal and just write down all those stories that comes to your heart.
Yes. Yes. And so, when I wrote the book, I wanted to attach scripture to what I was writing. For me, that is what started giving me hope. Not
Hope.
only,
Mm-hmm.
yes, hope. That's why I love, give me hope with Joanna. I love it because
I am glad.
that's where I'm coming from. If it wasn't for that hope, right? That
Yes.
anchor, that just that hand that reminded me that, you know what, regardless of maybe the painful situation that I'm going through,
Mm-hmm.
there's always hope. There's always the light
Always.
in the dark, right?
Yes. Yes. And it is so sad sometimes when something like a divorce or a death of someone
Mm-hmm.
opens up your eyes
Yes.
to Jesus,
Right.
that shows you that He is the hope, He is the light, you
Yes.
know.
Yes, I agree. I think that when we go through a difficult time, what it does is it teaches us to have
Definitely.
compassion, right? To
Yes.
have
Mm-hmm.
love for others, to help, right? To give
Yes.
a hand or to give a word, right? Just a
Yes.
simple word, kind word, encouraging
Yes.
word.
Definitely. I agree 100% with you there. Because when people are in situations like that, it is always nice to hear those words when you need it most. And God sends people into your life, even if it is just someone who's passing you in the streets, and saying, "Oh, you look nice today," or something like that. It can make a difference in someone's life.
Yes, and I've seen that. And that's what gives me joy through what I went through writing the book. I feel that God really opened up my eyes and He started to show me that when I was going through a difficult time, it was the words, right, in the Bible, the people in the community, right, that would just say something kind to me. It would like encourage me and help me. And so now I want to be that for others. And I want
Yes.
to be able to say that I'm not, and this is something I feel that until we go through something very difficult, um, because of a lot of social media, right? We tend to, you know, uh, be focusing on, okay, what am I feeling today? What am I going through? And so we tend to kind of like not make ourselves available to others. But now I try to be, like you said, say hi, good morning, and a lot of people look at me like, wow, this is different, right? She's
Yes.
actually acknowledging me, smiling at
Yes.
me, right? And
Yes,
so I
definitely.
okay, and I think that for me that's been a change in me, and I
Good.
feel that that's giving hope to
Good.
others. Yeah,
That
just
is
to
very
really.
beautiful. Well, would you like to start to tell us how your book started?
Yes. Again, I was going through a very difficult time, and so as I journaled, um, I ended up. I have a at that time I had a 6 year old, and I the way that we would basically spend time together was to go to the library here, in Mission, the public library. So I just one day had my journal with me, all my stuff. I had a backpack, and I felt a little nudge that said, type it out And so I went and I started to type it, and I was like, chapter 1, and I was like, whoa, what is this, right? Chapter 2, and so forth. And next thing you know, I had the book, created. I was there. I know the librarian was like, wow, you've been spending a lot of time here. I go a lot there. And,
Yes.
and I said, I said, I strongly feel that I'm writing a book, and
Oh,
I didn't know what I was doing, but it became a book. And so I'm so amazed at what God can do through our pain.
I do love your title of the book. It definitely already says something, hey.
Yes, and that's what I want people to say, into his loving hands, right? Whose hands, right? And
His
so I
loving, yeah.
yeah, I want them, and I've had people say, I picked up your book and I was like, what is this? What is this about? And they're like, I started to read it and it started to give me that hope, right? And in certain
Yes.
certain things in my life. And so I'm so thankful to say that I see it doing what it did for me with other people. So that makes me very happy.
Yes. Isn't it just nice when other people can message you and say, wow, I just read your book and it made such an impact in my life. I actually received a message like that this morning from my new book that I also published last week. And I'm not going
Amazing.
to talk about my books now, but it's called Still Standing. And this lady read it, and it is my very first review from this book. She wrote me such a long message, and you know how that filled my heart, that it already touched someone's heart. It does make a difference in our lives when we hear those kind words from people who has read our books, hey?
Yes, I agree. It inspires us to share.
Yes.
It inspires us to pick up the pen again, right, and start journaling again. Um, I feel that this is not my last book for women,
Good.
but yeah, I love the feedback. I love to see what God does again through the pain and through the things that we went through. And I just always remind myself that at times we don't want to share when we've gone through something difficult, because sometimes we think, there's going to be judgment, or there's going to be, maybe there's a little bit of like for me, a little bit of, at first I thought maybe there's a little bit of shame, but when I shared, I started to realize there was many women that were going through the same thing, and so I was able to
Yes.
help. So that made me
Yes.
happy.
If you have seen me a year ago, I am also proud to announce that Give Me Hope with Joanna is on air now for 1 year already. And
Wonderful.
it's still going slow, but I am growing and I am so much more confident in myself, in my story. And not just that, by hearing other people's stories, Liz, it makes such a difference in your broken life. It can
Yes.
heal your heart slowly. And it's just 1 year that I have been interactive with people and hearing their stories. It is incredible to tell you that I have become so strong after losing my entire family. So, yes, please go ahead and tell us about after you got divorced and you started to write your book. Tell us what happened after you got divorced and then how your book came about, the full story behind it, if you don't mind.
Well, like I said, I went to the Spirit Library and I put everything that was in my journal right into a book layout. And then the next question was, how? How
Mm.
am I going to, create this book? And I'm so thankful that I stepped out in fear, but I started to look, and I emailed a person that I had seen on social media from California, and she actually helped me produced the book, actually published the book. And I want to give others hope that whenever the Lord places something in your heart, because this book was inspired by Him, and I feel that He not only gave me direction, instruction, but He also put the right helpers around me to make this happen. Um, and I remember it was actually around COVID time also when all of this was going on, and so there wasn't a lot of like in person, right? Kind of connection,
Yes,
but He
yes,
did it through social media. And so we need to be thankful for that, right? There's so many different ways, different people that you can see now and reach because of social media. But going back to the book, she ended up helping me write the book. And then later, I ended up writing a children's book. And then I did journals because I knew that that's what started all of this. And then other things within me, through the pain, right, of the divorce. Not only did it opened something up in me again, that hope, right, that inspiration, that creativity started coming out, and I started to do other things. I have other little gift boxes that I do, and bookmarks, and just to inspire others. It has little slogans on them that say, like, you are enough, or, wonderfully and fearfully made. And I just give it. Not only do I pray over the things, right? I pray over anything that I mail out or give away, because I've given many
yes,
books away, many things. But I also, make sure that I connect with whoever I'm handing that whatever it is that I've created through all of this, right? I make sure that I really connect one on one with the
yes.
person that I'm giving the gift to, and that has
That is
been,
amazing.
yeah, that has been, the inspiration, the hope after the brokenness. I try not to go back into the divorce part or saying what it should have been and what it shouldn't have been. I start to see, like I wrote in the bottom of my book, how God bestowed, a crown of beauty instead of ashes. And that's in Isaiah 61:3. That's really what I'm wanting to do for others, right? Reminding them that through the ashes or through whatever they're going through, God can crown it and make it beautiful. And that's what it did for
Yes.
me.
Yes. And divorce is not always something that you should think about a bad thing. Sometimes God brings people into our lives, but those people are not meant to stay, and you have to move on. Sometimes it can be difficult, but
Mhm.
going through it, you can sometimes become best of friends. I am now divorced for more than 20 years already, and found my second husband, have two more children with him as well. So I have four children.
Mhm.
And me and my ex-husband, I cannot even think that we've ever been husband and wife, because now he's just like a friend. And it is good to see him in my children's lives, and the way he is a father to them and what he does for them. I appreciate it so much that he has always just been there for them, and that I am now just looking at him as a friend and cannot ever think of him as my husband anymore. It's strange how time heals those wounds, but
Yes.
it takes time.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
Forgiveness
Yes.
is so important. Love
Yes.
is so important. Having an understanding that, the Bible specifically says it, that all those that love God, that whatever we go through, right, that He will make whatever seems bad and transform it into something good.
Good. Yes.
And so, yes, that's what I have seen with what God has done with that part of
Yes.
my
Have you got
life.
children?
Yes, actually, I do. I have a 26-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, Ray, he's a registered nurse, and I have a daughter that's 25. And yeah, she lives out in Missouri. And then I have my 10-year-old, and her name is Faith.
Oh,
And
cute.
she is the one that just inspires me to do more,
Yes.
to make
Yes.
sure
I
that,
also have adult.
yes, oh, how old?
I also have adult children.
Yes,
My son is going to be 32 this year.
wow.
Don't ask for my age. But my daughter, she's 25 this year. And then I also have two little ones with my new husband,
Wow.
16 and 15.
How beautiful. Yes, it's so
Oh,
beautiful, isn't
God
it?
definitely bless us with children, hey. And now
Yes,
He blessed you with your 10-year-old again, hey, just to
yes.
keep you motivated and make you feel like tomorrow does matter. So we have to do things today, hey,
Yes, I
to
agree.
make
That's
it
what I
matter.
feel. She keeps mom moving and inspired, and always wanting to put my best foot forward for her. So yeah.
Yes. So tell me, you say also that you are um, a teacher, or you said that you are involved with the church
Yes.
and
With
you
the
teach
children.
children at the children's church. Okay, so do you want to tell us a little more about your children's book as well?
Yes, I basically the way that book came to be, it's just amazing what God can do. Is my daughter, again, I teach Sunday school, and we had gone out of church, and she's like, Mom, I have a question. I'm going through something difficult at school. um, she started telling me about the situation, and I told her, Faith, instead of talking right about other children, let's make up characters. And tell me where that came from. I think it was just something God knew, was going to inspire me to do what happened afterwards, because we made sure that we didn't talk of others, right? Of children. I wanted to teach her the value of, you can tell me of a situation, but we don't have to say who, and so as we were speaking, we created these characters, and she's like, Mom, I want to be a puppy with a pretty pink bow. And
Oh,
so that's
cute.
where the title of the book came, the puppy with the pretty pink bow, making a new friend, because that's what the conversation was about. Her having a difficult
Mm,
time making friends, keeping friends, conversations, right, that caused her to feel a little hurt. And so,
mm,
what I did is I turned around and explained to her, yes, maybe this is what you're feeling, right? That you're feeling rejected, or you're feeling like they no longer want to be your friend, but instead let's look at it another way. And that's where the book came, where I go into the stories, and I can give one example. Is her saying, so and so didn't want to sit with me, and I turned it into, um well, maybe it's not that she didn't want to sit with you, maybe it's because she really cares for that friend that she saved the seat for.
mm,
And so, and we kind of talked about it, and she understood it, and it made a smile, from a frown to a smile come to her face. And so that's where, again, I ended up at the Spirit Memorial Library, and I felt a little nudge, put it in, type it up, write it up, write the book. And I created
mm.
the puppy with the pretty pink bow, making a new
Good.
friend.
And I'm sure you dedicated it to your daughter.
Yes. Yeah.
Sweet. Oh, that is so nice. And I'm sure that she's also happy to see mommy wrote me a book, and
Yeah.
telling her friends about it. That is incredible to give that to a little girl and say, tell your friends, mommy wrote you a book. They're all going to want to read it.
Yes, and the best part was that God opened a door and I got invited into her elementary to actually read the book.
Wow,
Yes,
that's
to
incredible.
yes, and I knew that was just my confirmation from the Lord showing me, yes, this was me. Yes, I
You
did
did
ask
well.
her to write it, and she was just so joyful because not only did she see, mommy, yes, go in there. All her other friends were like, "Wow, your mom is an author." Again, inspiring, right?
Yes,
Others.
yes. Yes, because that's where life starts, is the little ones who sees that little bit of inspiration. It can change their lives, doesn't matter how small they are. I mean, 10-year-old is already an age where they understand,
Yes,
and if that can touch someone's heart by that age, it can make a difference in their lives because it's the choices that you make in your life that
yes,
makes a difference. You don't always have to say, because my parents are poor or are not doing well, or my dad's an alcoholic and my mom does this and that. You know, it's not their fault if you don't do good in your life because you have choices that you have to make in your own life. And that is that little seed that you plant into a little child by reading a story like that can make that difference in the future.
yes. I agree with you 100% because what I watched was a little girl that was 6 years old that went through the pain with mommy of the divorce, not seeing her parent, you know, on a day in and day out, and just a massive change in her life go from, we're going through pain together to
Mm.
look what God has done with through the pain instead of me sitting there and harboring the bitterness or the anger or the pain and just like you said becoming, oh, look what I'm going through, and life is not worth this or that, or feeling, you know just these awful feelings. I turned around and showed her, look at what God created out of that pain. Look at the changes in our life. I mean, here I am, I'm working
Yes.
in the home health industry that has nothing to do with writing, right? Books or anything like that. Going out to the community, assisting, helping. And now, because of what I went through, she watched mommy go from, there's all this pain to, wow, let's go help others. Let's go give
Yes.
hope. Let's go encourage other children. And even for herself, she says, Mom, I want to be a writer when I grow up. I want to
Oh,
write books. And so for that for me was the best, best, best.
yes, you are a very good example for her. And she's definitely going to be a strong young woman one day just by looking at mommy, from what I can hear.
Thank you. Yes, well, that
Oh,
isn't that
that's
what we
well
want?
done. That is exactly what we want. And you also said that everything inspire you to be creative. Do you want to show us your creativity that you do?
Yes, I actually have a couple of things, if you don't mind. So, like for
Yes.
example, again, going to that love that the Lord started to pour into my heart, right? Because again, I knew it's a renewing of the heart, right? Cleaning out the pain and the hurt, and the Lord just going in and pouring in love. That's why it's called into His loving hands. And look, this is just to show you. This is a daughter gift set that I created. And so it has a little bookmark that says daughters are a gift from God, Psalm 127:3. And my daughter just loved it. Of course, remember, she loves the color pink. creating a journal that says, I want to inspire, right? Again, with a bookmark. And this was created for her,
Yes.
creating things for her to see, right? To be able to touch and see, look, because of everything, look at the love God has poured into my heart. Now I want to pour it into others, right? Maybe
Yes.
other daughters that are going through something difficult. Well, now you can journal. And that's where a lot of my journals came in. Here's a notebook for women, saying, Lord, speak, right, to your servant. I'm awaiting instruction, which is 1 Samuel 3:10. So as you can see, a lot of these, this creativity was leading to telling others, look, take what you're going through, take whatever it is, journal it, but also know, like this one, you are fearfully made in God's image. you know you and I usually stone these. I put, a little bit of bling on it. As women, we love that. I take a pen and I bling it up and I package it. I pray over it. I love on it, and then I give it away. Right, giving
Yes.
that hope. Right,
Tell
giving
me
that hope.
quickly, are all of these available on Amazon or do you sell it directly?
I do both. They are available on Amazon. If you go under my name, Liz Huerta, you will see it there on Amazon. But like I said, I also do it locally. I mail out stuff because I do add a little bling to it, and I add a pen and I just pray over it. So it depends on how the person comes across. That meets me or gets to know about my stuff. I've had a lot of people, and I love it, that tell me, I went on Amazon and I ordered your notebook, or I went on Amazon and I
Um,
ordered your book because someone else had it, and they told them about it, and then they go and they order it. So this is just amazing. I love it. It's about giving hope, right? And so I love what I'm seeing.
Beautiful, beautiful. I will also have your links down below in the description. So if anyone wants to buy Liz's books or her journals, all the links will be down below in this description if you go below this video. Liz, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about your books or
Yes,
anything?
well, actually, I would love to say that no matter what you go through, no matter what it is, a loss, just anything in your life that's making you feel, pain, or that you have no hope, or that you feel like there's nothing within you that can keep going, know that God, is there for you. That if you just take a second and ask him, Lord, through this pain, through this struggle, whatever it is, through this anger, through this hard time, is there anything, Lord, that I can do while I wait for it to go away? That he will surprise you, he will amaze you, he will bring to you new things that you never thought you would end up doing, because of the
Definitely.
fact that you called out to him. I know in the Bible it says, Jeremiah 33:3, that says, to call out to him and he will answer you. Things that you would never know, right? If we don't reach out to him, he's there, he's available. And I want to encourage you. I know it hurts. I know it's hard, but God is faithful. There's hope and there's love and
Mm.
there's other women, right, around you. Get into a community, whatever it is, get involved, serve, speak to others. Don't isolate yourself. The isolation is not good. Do you
Mm.
agree with me? Yes. I know
I
you're.
agree with you so much, because there were many times where I was just sitting on my couch and crying about my family, feeling like I want to not live anymore and maybe I'm not worth it anymore. because why does God do this? Why does
Yeah.
He take away my family? But you
Yeah.
know what I've realized is that God does not take away your family. He holds your hand and He's with you through the time that you are grieving.
Yes.
And that I
Amen.
have noticed. Yeah.
Yes, and I agree
But
100%.
it's not healthy. You do need to get out there. You do need to go out with some friends, speak about your story, and
Yes.
share it with the world, because you never know if there's someone who needed to hear what you have to say today.
Yes, I agree. And I think we're
Yes.
both examples.
Yes, definitely. From what I can hear with you as well. Um, I'm really proud of people when I see this in them, that there's another one, there's another one, and there are actually many out there. Imagine we can meet them all, hey? We can just
Yes,
all
and
stand together and speak the word of God and get this world to just be a little bit more peaceful,
yes,
because what goes on in this world, it's scary. And I feel sorry for all the people
yes,
overseas that needs to go through all of this, that didn't ask for it.
yes,
I always, every day, I pray for the people who's going through a hard time like that.
yes. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the keys that God has shown me through this, that when we look around and take our eyes off of ourselves, when we help others or give hope to others, there is something that comes back to us. It's kind of like he's saying, help others, reach out to others while I mend your heart, while I mend
Mm.
your problem, while I mend
Yes.
what you're going through. And that's where the sense of community comes in. I love it. You said the unity, right? Praying for others, loving on others,
Mm.
smiling at others, just giving hope. And so
Yes.
I hope that that's what I'm doing, because that's what I want to be doing for God.
That's very good. Well, Liz, thank you so much for coming to share your story, and good luck with your books and your journals. I think you're going to do very well with it. And I think God is still going to bless you with many more blessings that will come your way. Um, so keep up the good work.
Thank you. And likewise, I can't wait to see what else you come up with. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and sharing a little bit about myself. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, that was Liz Huerte. She had an amazing story. And if one person can make such an impact in so many people's lives, imagine what you can do with your story. So if you have a story and you would like to share it with me, you never know when someone needs to hear it. So please do reach out, like my videos, subscribe to them, but most of all, share it. We will be back next week with another incredible story that will definitely touch hearts. It's a sad story, but it will definitely touch your heart. So do subscribe, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.